Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I got a story today. I pulled over on the side of the road. You can see right next to the old highway here. I think it's a big deal. I've been reporting on this ever since it came out of Israel, and I think it's going to affect the U.S. economy. It may not, to be honest with you, but it is a big enough story I want to bring to you, and I'm going to talk about it at the end, how you can be prepared for it and actually be blessed because you actually knew about this ahead of time. That's what Ninja Nation's all about. So with that being said, hashtag Ninja Nation if you can in the the comment section. And if you haven't subscribed, if you don't mind subscribing, I'd appreciate it, or a thumbs up if you like this kind of content. All right, so this does affect the economy. So we're talking about the bird flu is back in the US and no one knows what's coming next. Now this story is out of Wired. I'm gonna link it below, but we're gonna go over it right now because I was starting to cover this when it came out of Israel, moving into Europe and Africa, and they started to euthanize a ton of birds, egg-laying birds, especially chickens, and you saw Israel ramp up their supply. I think it was something like they bought 1 million eggs as a stockpile, right, to get ready for this, and they were smart in doing that. Now we don't know how this is gonna affect US food supplies, but what I want to do, well, we'll save that to the end. So stick around to the end, okay? So it says, in the first day of the New Year's, on South Carolina's marshy edge, a hunter shot an American widgeon, a rusty-fronted duck, with a pale beak and a brilliant green stripe. And this is no big deal. They talk about it. Anyway, sorry. It tested positive for the bird flu. They tested this over at Clemson University, and it did actually pull up positive for H5N1, and it's the Asian strain of that bird flu, okay? So that's sort of a big deal. And I think it is a really big deal. Why? Because if you caught one, and remember, this thing started a while back, coming out of Asia into Israel, and then it started moving, and they're expecting through the migration season for it to go to Europe and into Africa. Now we're seeing it here. It says, just a few days later, the USDA disclosed that 2 more birds shot by hunters also carried the same pathogen. It was a teal shot in the same South Carolina county, and a northern shoveler shot in the far northeast corner of North Carolina, okay? About 400 miles away, so it's already starting to move, right? So we're gonna talk about a few things that are important here. Sorry, I'm scanning down. All right, so lesson 1. We're gonna talk about this. All right, so first off, 3 birds out of millions that American hunters shoot each year might seem like nothing, but it actually is a big deal because remember, this is just a hunter that shot a bird. It tested positive, which means there's more of them out there. A couple lessons here. For a long time, scientists thought humans were in little danger from all those other flu strains. See, look, there's a bird coming over just talking to me right now about this. That assumption was shattered in 1997 when an avian influenza, H5N1, jumped species in Hong Kong and infected 18 people, killing 6 of them, okay? So we've had a history of bird flu actually coming to humans. And I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but we're gonna get to why I think it is a big deal. Another lesson, avian flu can be dangerous to people, but it threatens some birds too. Water birds, chick-fly ducks carry it without illness, so they can be a carrier, but it makes chickens sick. Here again, there are subcategories. Avian flu can be low pathogenic, meaning it makes birds mildly ill and slows down egg production, okay? Very, very important, pay attention to that. Or it could be highly pathogenic. Or HIPATH, a fast-moving infection so vicious it can kill an entire flock in 2 days. All right, so to sum it all up, the flu found in the Carolinas is an H5N1, meaning it is the subtype that normally infects birds, but in the past has sickened people. It is a high-path variety, the kind that can wipe out domesticated flocks, all right? It belongs to a strain related to the first species crossing jump in 1997. All right, let's stop there. I don't want to read the whole story. I apologize for that. I've been reporting on this since it hit Israel. It actually started up in Asia, but it came into Israel and moved, migrated, like we talked about. It is now in America. They are already in other countries euthanizing entire flocks of chickens, right? Flocks, I don't know if that's the right word. I think this is a big deal. If we start to see this in America, I'm not saying go out and run and buy a bunch of chicken. However, with the current state of inflation right now, if this happens and they start having to euthanize chickens, we're going to have a massively decreased egg production and chicken meat, right? So what do you do as Ninja Nation to prepare? Well, if we start to see this, you have some time to go down and buy some chicken, all right? Put it in the freezer, right? Freezer space is probably the most important thing during an inflation era. If you have freezer space, it means you could store food for longer, right? You know, certain things. I think that's important to have, right? It's not being afraid. It's funny because there's all these people that want to make their way in the world going, you're a doom and gloomer, you're fearful. And I said, first off, fear is the best motivator you will ever have in life to actually get your butt up off the couch and do something, honestly. I mean, everything we do is based off of fear. You could easily see that, right? There's a few times in life that you're based off of, you know, you do things out of the goodness of your heart, but mostly you do things out of fear, right? I'm afraid of what people will think of me, so I dress a certain way or act a certain way. I'm afraid of losing my job, so I do a good job. I'm afraid of losing my house, so I pay my mortgage, right? Everything is based off of fear. And I believe fear is a great motivator, right? But we also have to understand how important it is to separate the doom and gloom from the reality. This stuff is really happening. Now this may be nothing, and I hope it is, right? But if we start to see, and this is why I'm bringing you this story now, so you guys can start to pay attention, maybe there's some investment opportunities. I know people are like, maybe I'll, check out chicken futures. I don't even know if there's chicken futures. But my point being is it's good to have that baseline of knowledge because you're not going to see this stuff out in the news until it's too late. You'll see it on the big boys, all these big networks, when they're euthanizing millions of chickens, all right? You're coming here, and again, I thank you to all the subscribers because I'm trying to bring you these stories that I believe are going to be big. They're not big now, they're going to be big next week or the week after, all right? So with that being said, I linked the story in the below. Think about this as it starts to get bigger. We were already discussing this in December, and now it's here, all right? That's that whole time frame where, the news cycle hasn't gotten big enough yet for it to hit mainstream media. But I'm telling you right now, I have a feeling in the next few months, you're gonna see some things pop out where all of a sudden we're having to kill off hundreds of thousands of chickens in this country, which are gonna, I don't care if you're in California and this is happening on the other side of the country, it is going to affect your pocketbook. End of story, and quite frankly, your stomach. So that being said, I thank you so much for watching. The Economic Ninja is out.